The pounding came before the dawn. Miss Theodosia Vane opened her eyes to a ceiling she did not recognize, in a chamber colder than any she had known at Ashworth Manor, and for one merciful instant she forgot. She forgot the candlelight in her uncle's study. She forgot his voice, low and venomous, calling her a disgrace to the family name. She forgot the carriage that had carried her, weeping, through the black countryside to this draughty cottage on the edge of nowhere. Then the pounding came again, and memory returned like a blade. She rose, her bare feet recoiling from the icy floorboards, and drew her thin shawl about her shoulders. Her reflection in the cracked looking-glass was a stranger's, hollow-eyed, her chestnut hair undone from its pins, her countenance pale as the morning fog pressing against the window. 3 days prior, she had been the toast of London's most coveted ballrooms. Now she was nothing, less than nothing, a ruined woman, banished by her own uncle for a scandal she had not even committed. The whispers had begun at Lady Pemberton's ball, a forged letter, a stolen kiss that never happened, a rumour sharpened into a weapon by a rival who envied her too well. By morning, the entire ton believed Theodosia Vane to be a wanton, faithless creature, unfit for decent society. Her uncle, Lord Cornelius Vane, a man who valued reputation above blood, had not even granted her the dignity of defending herself. "You have shamed this house," he had hissed, his knuckles white upon his cane. "You will leave before the sun rises, and you will not return." And so she had left, disgraced, friendless, and utterly alone. Now, as the pounding at the door persisted, urgent and unrelenting, Theodosia's heart seized with a fresh terror. Had he sent men to remove her further still? Was even this wretched cottage not punishment enough? She crossed the room on trembling legs and drew back the curtain. Her breath caught in her throat. There, gleaming impossibly bright against the grey morning mist, stood a carriage of the likes of which did not belong in this forgotten corner of England. Black lacquer polished to a mirror's shine, gold filigree catching what little light the sky offered, 4 magnificent horses, their breath rising in great plumes, and upon the carriage door, unmistakable even through tear-blurred eyes, a crest she had only seen once before, glimpsed across a crowded ballroom from a distance she had never dared close. The crest of the Duke of Ashburn. Her hand flew to her lips. It could not be. A man of his consequence, his power, his unimpeachable standing. What business could he possibly have at the door of a ruined woman, cast out like refuse? Unless he had come to see the scandal for himself, unless he had come to confirm with his own eyes that the woman they spoke of in every drawing-room from Mayfair to Bath was indeed as wicked as rumour proclaimed. The thought alone was enough to send fresh tears spilling down her cheeks. She had met him only once, a single dance, months before, at a ball she had nearly declined to attend. He had asked for her hand with a formality so correct, so devoid of artifice, that she had thought him cold, until she caught just once the flicker of warmth in his grey eyes when she had made some foolish jest about the orchestra's tempo. He had laughed, an actual laugh, low and surprised, as though laughter were a stranger to him too. She had thought of that laugh more often than she cared to admit. But that was before the letter, before the whispers, before her name became a thing spoken behind gloved hands and silk fans. The pounding came a third time, and beneath it now, a voice, deep, commanding, achingly familiar. "Miss Vane, I know you are within. I beg you, open the door." Her hands shook so violently she could scarcely lift the latch. When at last the door swung open, the cold morning air rushed in, and there he stood, Alastair Renwick, Duke of Ashburn, his greatcoat dusted with frost, his dark hair dishevelled as though he had ridden through the night without rest. His countenance, usually so composed, so impenetrable, was etched with something Theodosia had never thought to see there. Fear, and beneath it, an ardent desperation he made no attempt to conceal.
"Your Grace," she whispered, mortification burning through her, "you ought not to be seen here. My presence alone could ruin you by association. Please." "I do not care what ruins me," he said, his voice rough. "I have spent 3 days tearing London apart to learn the truth of what was done to you. I know of the letter, Miss Vane. I know it was forged. I know precisely whose hand penned it, and I have already laid the matter before men with the power to see her exposed for the liar she is." Theodosia's knees nearly gave beneath her. You believe me?" "I never believed otherwise." His grey eyes held hers unwavering. "I have called upon your uncle this very morning and informed him in no uncertain terms that he has banished the very woman I intend to make my duchess, should she still have me." The words struck her like a physical thing. The wind seemed to still. Even the horses, stamping impatiently at their harnesses, fell silent in her ears. "You cannot mean it," she breathed. "I am ruined. Whatever you may have proven of my innocence, the damage to my name will be undone the moment all of society sees the Duke of Ashbourne arrive at this door and depart again with you at his side, not as a disgraced woman fleeing scandal, but as a lady claimed and cherished beyond all doubt." He stepped closer, and she could see now the exhaustion carved beneath his eyes, the proof of how little he had slept in his haste to reach her. "I should have spoken sooner. I should have declared myself the very night of that ball, rather than allowing propriety and caution to stay my tongue. I will not make that error again." Before I tell you what she said in answer, and I promise you it is a moment worth every second of waiting, if this story has stirred something in your heart, do take a moment to press that like button and subscribe to the channel. It costs you nothing, yet it means everything to us, and it ensures more stories like Theodosia's find their way to you. Now, back to the manor door, where a duke stood waiting for his answer. Theodosia's voice, when it came, trembled with disbelief still warring against hope. "Your Grace, Alastair, you would risk everything? Your title, your standing, the very respect of every peer in England for a woman the Ton has already condemned?" "I would risk far more than that," he said, and reached for her hand with a gentleness that undid her entirely. "I have watched you carry yourself with grace through an injustice that would have broken a lesser spirit. I have admired you since the moment you laughed at my poor attempt at wit on the dance floor and called it dull before the whole assembly dared to think it." A ghost of that same rare smile touched his lips now. "I do not offer you rescue, Miss Vane. I offer you a life beside a man who has already lost his heart to you and has no wish to reclaim it." The tears that fell from her then were not the tears of grief that had marked her through that long and terrible night. They were something altogether different, relief, disbelief, and beneath it all, the first trembling stirrings of a joy she had thought scandal had stolen from her forever. "Then you shall have your answer, Your Grace," she said, her voice steadying with each word. "Yes, 1,000 times yes." He drew her into the carriage himself, his greatcoat settled about her shoulders against the cold, and as the horses pulled away from that forsaken cottage, Theodosia Vane looked back only once upon the place where she had believed her life ended. She did not yet know that within the week her uncle would be made to issue a public apology before the very Ton that had condemned her. She did not yet know that the woman who had forged her ruin would soon find herself the subject of the very scandal she had invented. She knew only this, that the carriage carried her not away from disgrace, but toward a betrothal sealed not in convenience, but in love hard won and fiercely defended. And as the manor gates of Ashbourne rose at last before her, gleaming beneath a sky finally clearing to gold, Theodosia understood that some letters, however cruel, are not the final word upon a woman's story. Sometimes a duke writes the ending himself.